I'm back. As I was saying, that South Africa is going to go to its national general elections right in this year, 2024, and there are some issues that normally come out when you're dealing with any kind of elections. And I realize as I am having conversations with people, some family, some friends, some nieces and nephews, and I realize that not everybody understands what elections are for, why do they have to vote. They seemingly, some of them, not everyone, but the reason why I am making this video is the concern that I just had as I'm having these conversations. First and foremost, every 5 years, South Africa and most countries in the world, I know in America, they take about 4 years to go to their elective conference. I mean, the national elective elections for their country. In South Africa, we take 5 years and then we go to elections. And the first democratic elections were in 1994, and now we are in 2024, which is now 30 years to the mark. Maybe in April, 27th of April, will be to the mark of the 30-year mark that we are going to the elections. So many things have happened in the country, and we've learned that there are many voices other than the leading government, the leading political party, which is the ANC, African National Congress, that was established in 1912, which is 112, I think, this year. They've recently celebrated their January 8th statement in Bombela. Sterling work of a full stadium that we've seen when a lot of people didn't believe that the ANC could come back to that glory, even though the stadium is not as big as, say, the FNB stadium. I don't want to mention figures now. I didn't check all of, but I think FNB at its best, it's around 90,000, and then Bombela, it's around 54,000 capacity-wise. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'll check and also correct. But what I wanted to talk about today was the importance of this national general election that we are going into. For the first time, after 30 years, there is a real fear that the ANC, which usually get anything beyond 50% in the results, would probably, and a lot of people are saying, a lot of statistics or what do you call these surveys that have been made are saying that the ANC might really fall under 50%. I'm not going to make my own analysis or my own submission into the case. It's not why I'm making this video. But maybe to start, number one, I want to talk about the importance of one vote. One vote, your voice, when you go and go and elect someone, some organization that you think is important, that you think is relevant for the next, say, 30 years of our lives. Is that there are people who are watching you. Anyone who's less than 18 years old will probably be watching who is 18 or above going to vote and what are they going to be voting for. Simply saying that you can't vote or you're not going to vote and keep quiet and stay at home, for me, I'd like to discourage you from that. I would even encourage you to go and vote, but you can spoil your ballot. Scratch, write whatever you want, and not vote for any particular organization. You are going to register your mark and saying that I was here, but I didn't find anyone worth my vote, or this is what I want to say. You can write it there. It's okay to do that. When you stay away, you just fall part of people, voter apathy, where people don't really want to come or are uninterested in the politics of the country. Please don't do that. If we have any influence, none whatsoever, on you, please do not do that. Please go and vote and rather spoil your ballot. But the importance of you having voted and you are now able to talk to your nieces, your nephews, and people around you and telling them what you voted for, or even if you don't tell them, but it starts to send a message to the people around you that you might underestimate the influence that you have on them, and most of them might be young. Voting also helps you to really engage the electoral process, because you need to know why you're voting for the person, for the organization that you are voting for. And in South Africa, yes, you vote for an organization. That organization then elects a president, usually in parliament. I know there's been talks about independent candidates. I'm going to be honest, I've not read those policies. I haven't followed the politics of the day to realize whether we're going to use that or not. But what I know for sure is that you go to parliament, whoever was voted for, according to the proportional representation, percentage-wise, as to how many got 10%, 50%, all of that. And the proportions, therefore, in parliament will be divided according to that, those seats in parliament. Then parliament, in its own wisdom, elects a president on our behalf, and the majority, the political majority of that time, then determines who becomes the president. Key point I want you to take from this is that voting brings you closer to the electoral process of the country. You want to question, you want to also engage your own thoughts as to what do I care about, what do I like, what do I not like, what did I appreciate in the past 30 years, in the past 5 years, what do I want to actually register as a voice going forward. Some of the issues that you might want to think about, that in every elections they are standard. Number one, they will always talk about health, the health policy of whoever is standing to be president or for elections. They will always, in the health conversation now, what's key is the National Health Insurance, NHI, which also has its own politics. I'm not an analyst, but I'm just giving you what I think would help for us to follow these upcoming elections and what people are saying, so that we don't get too confused. So number one, you have that the health issues that they will be addressing. You have the education issues, including higher education. Education, they will always talk about free education. They'll always talk about, NSFAS. They'll always talk about everything that would happen in the schooling process, and these political parties would then have to show and tell the voters how they are planning to address these issues that you as a citizen and as a voter care about, or that really concerns you. The issue of NSFAS right now, we're hearing a lot of corruption, and we're hearing, all of these are just, speculations, and they have not been proven in the court of law. But you want to follow that, because if you are someone, say, between the ages of 18 to, say, 30, I would say 25, but to 30, you want to find out what are the policies in government, what are the policies of this particular organization towards your future if you're around those ages. Why? Because that's where you get access to university, post-schooling sector, and all of that. If you are under 18, you're probably not going to vote. But if you want to follow, you want to find out what are the policies in schooling, and the successes, the failures, and what would change, what would not change. And then there would be a lot of discussions around economic growth. They will talk about the GDP of the country, the growth, the annual growth rate of the country, how much should the economy grow in order for us to have A, B, and C as a government. And in those conversations, you normally have these political entities giving you tools of how they were going to achieve these proposed or promised economic growth rates that they are talking about. They will talk about entrepreneurship. They will talk about how they would stimulate the economy, government spending into the economy, into the country, and employment, absorption of a lot of people that are, say, in a contract, into permanent employment. All of this gives money to people so that money can be spent in the country or somehow. Nago, my friend. Anyway, so the economic question is about how the government will make this country grow economically so that we don't die out, we don't actually face recessions, and we are not able to sustain the little that we have. Then you want to listen, including as part of that economic growth, others would include skills development plans and all of those things. And then there's always the issue of crime. Others will tell you what they did to turn back the tide concerning the crime rates and um, corruption and all of that. We've had the commissions that we've seen around corruptions. We've had a lot of these state security um, instruments that are in and out of courts, taking people in and out of courts because of whatever they've done wrong, and following the politicians and finding out who stole which, how much money is where, and all of that. So these are the instruments that people or the political organizations normally use to reduce the activities around corruption and crime in the country. So many things. Right now, there's a key issue about international relations where we see Palestine and Israel in the war that they have, and South Africa is taking a position that this is a genocide, and of which I agree. This is a genocide, and this genocide is killing Palestinians, and South Africa has taken Israel to Hague, to the International Court of Justice, the highest court in the globe. I think it's under the United Nations. Again, I'm not a political analyst, but or I don't follow all the international relations and the international geopolitics. But what I want us to be able to do is to engage, to listen out for certain things, to pen out what is it that we care about in these elections, what is it that we want to be addressed by whoever would be leading, and what affects us, what doesn't affect us. What is important though is that even on social media, we start putting out questions, we start asking questions about things we don't know. Take, for instance, the IEC, the Independent Electoral Commission in the country, has a responsibility to educate all citizens as to how to vote, voters' education, and what happens, and why should they vote, and how to vote, and things like that. And if you don't know, haven't seen any of their adverts, speak to them, drop them an email or inbox on social media, ask specific questions. There's so many NGOs that focus on the issue of elections that you can also ask and get more information. What is important for us not to be doing is to keep quiet for fear of being ridiculed, for fear of not supporting, say, a popular organization, for fear of, of showing everyone that we don't know as much as we should concerning this democratic process of elections. What I want to encourage always is to speak up. If any of this, what I'm saying right now, brings a question to your mind, please drop it, write it down in the language that you understand, if possible. Please, if you can, English, or isiXhosa, or isiZulu, I can understand those. If not, speak your language, write it down, and I'll try and get someone who would interpret it for me so that we can find someone who can address it. I'm opening up the space so that we can together focus on ways that we can improve our livelihood, the way we do life in general. so that we add our voice in the broader discussions concerning our democracy, our country, because we've seen that what we now have can actually burn up in the air like this. And anyone, as we are seeing, any country in the world seems to have enough power to just come and bomb any other country that they want, as long as they are supported by certain superpowers. And knowing where we are currently in South Africa, that initiated this IJC, International Court of Justice, ICJ, case against Israel in support of Palestinians, it means that we also could be in the firing line. Something that we don't like to hear, we don't like to talk about, but I guess we have a moral obligation as a country to do good where we think we can do good, and it's just not right that people can just die and we all look the other way. It doesn't matter what are the merits and the discussions around what had happened. And yeah, I don't want to get into that because there are people that are more knowledgeable. Kodwa siyavota in South Africa. That is what I want to register. One of the reasons I want to mention this, the reason to participate, not just as a voter now, as somebody who either stands for elections or join organizations so as to participate in the machinery that campaigns for the elections. We normally say that people must get into politics because they are called by society to do so. Or we normally say that we are doing this in service of society, something bigger than us, which is great, and it's very great. Sometimes you want to get involved because you have a suspicion that this is a life that you desire for yourself, that you want to self-actualize. You want to make sure that when you die one day, you would have explored all your talents. You would have explored everything that you think you should do before you pass away, because all of our time on earth is limited. So one of the reasons that one should get involved or can get involved in politics, other than the broader objectives and the noble objectives of being in service of society, and all these things that we normally say, you sometimes want, because you have a sense that this is one thing that I feel like I want to participate in. And therefore, one person could say it's out of self-interest. I want to encourage that person as well, who want to participate because they feel in themselves. And no one is appointing you, no one is electing you, no one is endorsing you. But you sense that you, as a person, you can also, or you should also participate in the electoral or in the political life of the country. And I want to encourage that person to look for a home, political home, or a political means to participate because they themselves feel that they can participate. I know people are going to say you're arrogant because no one says this. People always say that, no, I was elected, I was called by the people, because there's so much glory and honor in that, which I admire. God, I want to encourage a person who wants to participate because they suspect or they have themselves an interest in participating in politics and serving society, yes, but also want to self-actualize. And it's happening more and more. There are new political players that are interesting going forward. And I don't want to mention all of them, partly because I do not know all of them. But I know that they are the likes of Abu Musi Maimane, who left the DA and started BOSA. And then there is another guy, Roger Jardine, who's left the business space. And I think they're starting an organization that will be published at a particular time, or launched at a particular time. There's MK, where the former president, O. Jacob Zuma, seems to be leading or heading. I don't know what are the conditions, whether he's going to be the president or not, but it seems like he wants to come back as a president. I saw a video that he said that he was removed prematurely or before his term, and that he wants to come back and finish his term so that he can do more things. Yeah, it's not about that. I'm saying that there are more political actors, and it seems that we will have, or we will be spoiled for choice, as they say. Look out and don't get discouraged. There are significant players that we know. We know the ANC is a significant player in the political space in South Africa, and we we probably exist today in a life that has been designed by the African National Congress in many ways. And yes, there are external factors that determine what becomes, the order of the day, including the fact that they don't get all the votes in parliament to action all the policies that they want. So many compromises must be done. But I suspect most of what we are today is really as a result of the ANC. So it is coming in as a very powerful leading organization that is in government, and with Cyril Ramaphosa at the helm. You also have the Democratic Alliance, DA, with John Steenhuisen, with the chairperson Helen Zille, who are leading the organization, and they all have their own interest, which is largely what I am seeing, which is largely, the white vote, the white voters in the country. You have others like the EFF, which is also a very important player in these elections, and they are even, I expect the EFF to do quite well in these coming elections, comparing with their own previous, results. And we've seen them filling up the FNB stadium, which is something that was really impressive. It doesn't matter what one can say, whether councillors were threatened to do this or other councillors were fired. It's never an easy thing to actually wield that influence to get your people across the country to come and be in the same space. Not everybody can do that. The DA has not been able to do that. As an official opposition, I think from 2000, they have not been able to do that, and no other organizations in political organization has been able to do that. So you must give it to the EFF, and then you have other organizations like Action SA, Rise Mzansi, and so many others. ACT, the new organization by the former Secretary General of the ANC, Ace Magashula. So you have so many, you have Patriotic Alliance, Gaten Mackenzie, who are there. You have so many of these organizations that you can choose from, which is great. But I do not want you to lose the conversation around what your interest in this country is. Some people will be more worried about crime because they are constantly afraid for whatever reason. Burglary, all of that. Some people are more interested in the economic conversations because of where they are in life. Others will be interested in the education. Others will take this and that, HIV and AIDS, TB, cholera, and all those health. They are more in the health issues. There's nothing wrong with that. But have at least have the at least the not the decency. I don't want to talk down on anyone. I'm sorry to have even mentioned that, but do bother yourself to an extent that you participate somehow. Raise a question, say something on social media. I don't know who to vote for. I'm even afraid to talk about who am I going to be voting for. I'm not, say those questions as well, those fears, whatever the thinking is, the thoughts are, will tell someone that is vocal enough and will show someone that people do care, but there are these impediments, these challenges that they are facing, and those are the challenges that we need to be addressing as we are dealing with the electoral conversations that will be ensuing across the country. The universities will be hosting these engagement. IEC will be having voter education. Political parties will be coming to knock at your doorstep, and it's very good if we were to all be engaged in this process. And whoever you vote for, please do go and vote and encourage other people to go and vote. And thank you very much for listening to me. And next time we will have more of these political entities. We had previously some of the political activists and players. If you just look back on our archive in this platform, you'll see that we've invited across board and we continue to do that. But right now, even though it's late, and I apologize, I wanted to register what I'm thinking about the election. Why? Because I can't ask you to talk about something that I'm not willing to talk about. And that's it in a nutshell. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.